smart Asian, fat American. We've all heard of these stereotypes, right? Well, today I'd like to talk to you about a very important stereotype in Canadian culture. The drunk Indian. The First Nations community is very split on the idea of alcoholism within their communities. One side believing that it is not a relevant issue, and the other, of course, believing that it is and should be dealt with by the government as soon as possible. So let's start with the side that does not believe it's a relative issue. I searched many websites with this point of view, and each one had the same statistic. This statistic stated that every 3 months, twice as many average Canadians consume alcohol compared to First Nations. But what is the relevance of this statistic? Let's ask my dad here. Dad, have you consumed alcohol in the past 3 months?
Yeah.
Guess what, guys? My dad's an alcoholic. It seems a bit ridiculous, right? Let's move on to the side that believes there is a problem. This side has way more websites and way more statistics. These statistics state that twice as many First Nations people drink heavily on weekdays, and nearly half of them show tendencies towards alcoholism. So, I didn't stop there. I also went on to a lot of blogs and social forums and found out just how deep the issue of alcoholism lies. Unfortunately, it's very deep. So now that we've found out that it is an issue, why isn't it an issue? Well, we could come down to the basic lack of education, but it goes further than that. Canada has an unfortunate legacy of residential schools. These residential schools rip children away from their parents when they were young, rip them away from their culture and any love and care they would receive as a child. These residential schools cause depression and suicide. These depressed people often turn to alcohol to fulfill their lives. Many of these alcoholics got married and had kids. With the residential school not treating them lovingly and caringly, they often pass that down to their kids. But what about the ones who broke that barrier and still showed love and compassion towards those kids? Why do they still end up as alcoholics? Well, there's a psychological term called self-fulfilling prophecy. This term states that if someone is expected to do something, they'll probably do it. Let's take a toddler as an example. If a toddler is expected to eat lots of sugar, they're probably going to eat lots of sugar. So, the same is for, of course, First Nations teens and adults. If they're expected to fall into alcoholism, they might just fall into alcoholism. So how can we stop this? Well, of course, there's education about the problem. We can go into their schools and talk about the dangers of alcoholism. But there's also combining traditional First Nations methods with modern psychological methods for getting rid of alcoholism